Hi, my name is Drew. I'm a sociologist.
I'm Kate. I'm a media production specialist.
And this is Everyone Should Read.
This is usually the podcast where we talk about books, sonnets,
plays,
short stories,
etc.
everything. Today, instead of picking just two and a specific genre, we're having a little fun with it.
We're going to do our year in review in books. This is our year's end episode, which is really exciting because we do read a lot for the pod, but there are also so many books that we cram in our own time.
Yes, and someone asked me recently why we don't release an episode every single week, and I was like, okay, so the average episode, I read about 400 pages in advance of the episode.
Right.
And I simply can't do that every week.
It's just not, we love our fluency. It's not there. It's not there.
I also just have a full-time job.
Well, and also the secondary sources that come with
It's a
reading.
lot.
Like in addition to the books, we're trying to read histories, we're reading synopses of the author,
Yes.
and their lifestyle.
We're digging deep into the biographies, the history of the time period, the countries things were written in.
The geopolitics of it all.
There's a lot. And so we love that we can release seasonally. We are so excited. I think we've got the next 4 to 5 seasons mapped out.
Oh, and I'm so excited for the next season. I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to say anything because everything's
so
subject to change.
fun.
Oh my gosh, I'm very excited.
But we read a lot in the meantime.
Yes, and so we're going to talk about them today.
Yes.
We're going to do some categories. We have magna cum laude with high praise for those of you who know. For those of you who don't know, it's with high praise. Laude coming from the Latin verb laudo, meaning to praise. Magna is an adjective meaning big. And summa cum laude, because I know you're probably wondering, means with highest praise. And so that's usually, in school, that's people who have the highest honors. But summa is also an adjective. It's a superlative adjective, first declension feminine, not to be confused with sum esse fui futurum, which is like the cogito ergo sum. I think, therefore, I am, the verb sum, to be. So this is very much the books that we really enjoyed. Is the point of this. It's the books that we really enjoyed.
And not all of them were written this year.
And not all of them they're just the books that we've read this year.
Yes.
And then there are going to be a couple of extra fun categories and there's some bits. There's some bits that we're going to do in this episode that I think are going to be fun.
And because this episode is almost exclusively praising the things that we have read, when we get to one of the categories, we're not naming names.
We're not naming names, exactly. And if you figure it out, we will not confirm or deny.
But if you're in my book club, you know.
But you know.
You know.
Okay, do you want to start off? Do you want to do highest praise or with high praise, long form fiction?
Yes.
Your book of this year? What do you got? What do you
Yes. So the book that I chose, I read somewhere between 50 and 60 books this year.
Oh my God. Okay.
Which for me is a really light year.
Nuts.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And
it's 5 books a month at least. 60 books.
Yeah, it's like at least a book a week. But that's not how I read it. Because that would be just too sensical.
Right.
I read, a book a day for a week, and then I didn't read for a month.
Yeah.
Because you go in waves, you go in phases.
Absolutely.
And there's times where you have the mental load and capacity that you can do something, and then work kicks up or life gets crazy, and you're like, I have a book half finished and have had a book half finished for a really long time.
Yeah.
And that's okay too.
Absolutely. The ebb and flow of reading, I think, is so organic. And I think people feel shame, oh, I didn't read any books this month. And I'm like, no.
That's fine.
So common.
Although my partner did check in with me. He's like, you haven't read a book in a month, and I'm concerned. Are you well? And I'm like, I'm not, actually. Thank you so much. Good check-in, good call out.
Yeah.
I'm overwhelmed with everything else. You're right. I think the year that I read the most books was 2020. And I read 185 that year.
Was that COVID?
That was COVID. Yeah.
I read the most books that year as well. I don't remember the number, but it was literally just nothing but reading.
It was insane.
Especially that summer, because I was in school at the time, and so there was nothing. It was great.
I was furloughed from work.
Hot.
And so I was just at home with nothing to do.
Yeah.
And that year I read a book that someone had recommended to me 13 years before. Which is the best when a book finds you at the perfect time. And I talk about this a lot, where if you force yourself to read something that people have said you will love and you are forcing yourself to do it, you're not going to love it. But if you come back to it in a season in which it feels easy to read it,
absolutely,
it becomes one of your favorite books. And that book was The Guernsey Literary and Potato Peel Society. Love it. Absolutely incredible. It's also been turned into a movie. It's on Netflix.
You've mentioned this to me before, I think.
It's a series of letters about people who are trapped on an island. This is also not the book that I'm picking for today for my cum laude. But this year, I was able to read a lot of books that came out this year, which is something that I often don't do. I regularly will wait a while.
Same.
And my TBR is so long, so vast that I try to get to books that have been on it for a while. And several authors published this year, and the books that they wrote were so impactful that a lot of the books on my list this year are from this year, which is very uncommon.
Yeah, okay. Period.
Yeah.
A lot of my books are not from this year.
I mean, some of my books are like from 2009 and some of my books are from like 2 months ago, which is crazy. But good writing doesn't care.
It's timeless.
It waits for you.
Yeah.
It's available.
Yeah, it does. That's
I
a beautiful
love
way to say it. That's a quote.
Thank
That's a
you.
quote.
Thanks. So my first book.
Yes, your
My
high praise
long form fiction is The Night and the Moth by Rachel Gillig.
Go on.
I read her duology that she had published a little while ago last year. And that is One Dark Window and Two Twisted Crowns. Brilliant. Her world building is so dynamic and vast, and I loved it. And I powered through both of them so quickly. And so when I heard that she had a new book coming out, that went to the top of my list.
I know the feeling. Yeah.
I was like, oh, I need to read more of her writing. And so this story is beautiful and poignant, and the world building is phenomenal. And I don't want to give too much away because I want people to read it, but the characters are so dynamic, and the way that she examines government and religion and the personal and the interpersonal and how we as individuals can impact the greater good, or the choices that we make, or how one small thing changes everything or could change everything, is so, so beautiful. Well,
and so often a story with really good characters, like richly developed characters, and also a very exciting plot that keeps you it's usually one or the other. And so it's rare to find one that does it both well.
Well, and every book on my list for this episode made me cry.
Damn.
So this is one of those.
That should have been my criteria, actually. What a great point. Oh my goodness.
I am one of those people who will like cry at a TV episode where everyone else is like, I mean, it was fine. And I'm like, no, like she gave up everything and you don't understand. And people are like, you have big feelings. I'm like, I have a lot of big feelings. Thank you for noticing. But also I will read so many books that I'm like, that was light, that was fun, that was fluffy, that was a 3-star.
Right. Yeah.
And to get to my like 5-star, changed my life, really rocked the way that I encounter the world kind of book.
Yeah.
I don't come across a lot of 5-star books.
I agree.
I come across thousands of 3-star books, which is still a book that I'll recommend and I enjoyed and was lovely, but it didn't make me cry. It didn't make me laugh. It didn't make me like have to put the book down and just like stare off into middle distance to like re-examine everything I know.
Right. And they're easier to eat.
You can eat 100 3-star books.
Yeah.
5-star books come along once in a while.
And they kind of stick with you. I've heard the term book hangover. It's kind of old now, but like they stay with you for days.
Yes.
I mean, one of the books on this list I read back in like June. And as soon as I was like, oh my gosh, like my favorite read of the year, like, oh my goodness, well, it's this. It's this one.
Yeah, we'll get to a book later where someone texts me. She's like, I don't get it. And I'm like, I don't even know how to talk to you anymore.
I know that one. I know that feeling.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. But what is your?
Okay. Magna cum laude, long form fiction of 2025. Two. There are actually two that were in the running.
I love this.
There was Home to Harlem by Claude McKay.
Mm-hmm.
Really, really good one. It is a snapshot of the Harlem Renaissance.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Really good. And it's, oh my gosh. I think if you want to get a sense of the Harlem Renaissance and sort of like the evolution of Black culture, great book, right? I think the author sort of does this twofold. He does not shy away from AAVE. And there was a time when reading this book with so much AAVE would have had people sort of go, well, you know, this is not respectable. This is kind of a humiliating portrayal. I do not take pride in this. But as more people start to understand that African American vernacular English has very specific grammatical rules, it elevates the text a little bit such that like it has more validity and people don't have to feel shame around it. So it's more fun to read and it's easier to read that way.
I love that.
The descriptions are very sumptuous, very colorful because it's the jazz age, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the Harlem Renaissance was a period of just so much music and literary excitement. This one takes place right after the First World War. Where this book takes place. Our main character's name is Jake. He's coming back from the war, but he has a foil character. Jake is very hedonistic. He's very fun-loving. He's running around, yada yada yada, and it's literally him like having sex, getting drunk, like having a good time. And then there is his foil, who, oh my god, his name eludes me right now, which is so frustrating because I read it earlier in the year. But it's a great book, still highly recommend. And his foil, he is more like identifying with the great writers of the era and the like Haitian Revolution and trying to locate sort of himself in the turn of the century. And he represents the sort of Black literati of the Harlem Renaissance and how they reckon with themselves, and the syntax changes completely when this character is talking, and the things he thinks about in the prose, it just becomes so not quite meandering but very thoughtful, very introspective, whereas Jake is kind of just like stimuli response, which is also great. And it's just like the duality of that. I love that. I love it. It was such a good book. And then The Antidote by Karen Russell. Oh my goodness. Okay, so I was in Chicago earlier this year, and I was in a bookstore with my partner, and I saw The Antidote sitting there, and I was like, oh my God, Karen Russell has a book out. And I have read Karen Russell's collection of short stories, Vampire in the Lemon Grove. Loved Vampire in the Lemon Grove.
You recommend it to everyone.
It's really fun. It's so fun. She has this really, I don't know, it's weird. It's just weird way of writing. That's the only way I can describe it. It's weird, but in a good way. She has this one story in there called The Barn at the End of Our Term, which I love, which I have told you about. It's absurdist. It's I don't know. We'll get into it maybe one day, but it's basically there's this mythical barn, and there's I think 24 horses. 12 of them are former U.S. presidents in the bodies of horses, and then the other 12 are just regular horses.
And we have it shortlisted for seasons upcoming.
It's a
you
fun
may or
one.
may not hear much more in depth about that one.
You haven't heard the last of the barn at the end of our term. But she also, in that anthology collection, she had a story about the Dust Bowl. She had a story about the Dust Bowl, and The Antidote is about the Dust Bowl. It's about the dust storms. It's about Nebraska. It's about westward expansion, and it's about the immigrant experience and like multi-generational immigrant experience. It revolves around this, I want to say, like second and third generation Polish immigrants in Uz, Nebraska. And in that, oh my gosh, in her short story about the Dust Bowl called Proving Up, she sort of renders the Dust Bowl as this like kind of magical realism, gothic, haunting. It's kind of a horror story because somebody gets caught in the dust storm, and there's this entity of the dust storm that represents like a pilfered America. You know, that's really interesting because we know that the Dust Bowl was caused by people ignoring the advice of the indigenous land stewards, and they're saying, you know, don't plant this, don't plant that, because you're going to erode the topsoil and then it will blow away. And they're like, fuck you, I'm going to do what I want. They ignored them. They planted wheat. They monocropped. They eroded the topsoil. It blew away. People drowned of dust. They like caught dust pneumonia. And so she writes this story where there's sort of this analog to the United States, and it's haunting and creepy and grotesque. And so she takes this story, this book, The Antidote, and she takes it a bit further, right? And so we've got this witch that people can deposit their memories in, and there is a huge element of like meditating with the removal of indigenous people and the transition of indigenous culture and settler colonialism. And it's just so, and like that as the crimes of the land. Oh my God. And I was so pleasantly surprised. You know, I'm like reading it, I'm like, okay, it's weird, good. It's gothic, good. It's the Dust Bowl, which as a scholar of American identity formation, I'm going to be so honest, is probably like the least interesting thing that I study in like the Dust Bowl. Like I know there was so much happening, but I'm just like, oh my God, it's just like farmers and dirt. I'm just like, God. But it is also very interesting because of this, and she covers it really well. It's really it's just yeah. So that's my two with high praise books of long form fiction. Magna cum laude short form fiction. What have you got?
So for short form fiction,
Mhm.
I have two stories.
Okay.
And one was in our teaser episode, and
Mm.
one almost got its own episode and then didn't.
Mm-hmm.
The first one is Galatea
Yes.
by Madeline Miller.
We talked to it. Yep.
We talk about it pretty in depth
Mhm.
in our teaser episode. If you haven't listened to that, go back. It is heartbreaking. When I told you that every story on my list made me cry, I like really do mean it. It's
Well,
so
because-
beautiful, and it takes a classic story of Pygmalion and
right.
it twists it on its head. And if there is one thing in this life I will love until the day I die,
Mhm.
it is a fractured fairy tale. It is a retelling of a classic story. I eat them up, and I have since I was a little girl. Love them. Love. As soon as I learned about like Greek myths as a child, and then I learned about Greek myth retelling,
Yep.
oh, the world opened up to me.
Of course.
There was a whole section of the library where I just sit on the floor and just absorb every written thing I could. It was so good, and it's still so good. And this story is so heartbreaking and really a little upsetting.
Mhm. Right.
It is not for the weak of stomach or the weak of heart. There are some trigger warnings, but it is, and it's only 22 pages. I mean, short form
that's the thing.
is really powerful in the way that you tell a story about someone who, in one version, in like the classic mythos, is madly in love with this creator-created concept. And in the version that we have, she is being held captive by this man who, as soon as she developed her own personality, fell out of love with her, but refused to let her develop her own personhood because she is still his art.
Right.
And the statue that came to life, and it's so beautiful. It's so brilliant. Oh, Madeline Miller. Really. If you haven't read anything else of hers, please go seek out her work. She wrote The Song of Achilles. She wrote Circe. She's really very talented, and she like me loves a retelling of a classic story.
Clearly.
Oh, so beautiful. The way she centers characters who otherwise have been props to the plot.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Is so brilliant. Is so good.
So, what do you think? Okay, with Galatea, because it is short form.
Yes.
How do you think the sort of constraints of short form fiction kind of enable richer storytelling? What are your
You
thoughts on that?
have to get to the point very quickly, and you almost have to assume that your audience knows things, which we talk about when we talk about poetry, right? Like when we had the episode where I was talking about Edgar Allan Poe and all of the references that he makes to other things within his poem as sort of like a shortcut to understanding a deeper meaning. Short stories are incredible because you have like a really brief amount of time to tell anyone anything, but it's the way that you would call up a friend. And you have this like brief moment and you're like, I just need to tell you something quickly. And the way that you're able to craft a story to someone who you know and you know loves you is different than the way that you would tell a story to a coworker that you are on decent terms with.
Right.
Those are different stories. The way that you share and you open up with someone who you feel you can trust is different. And the way that an author writes a short story is like opening up to someone they feel like they can trust. It's so beautiful.
Oh my God.
It's so lovely. And it's this vulnerability in a short amount of time that connects you with these characters. So short stories are either really raw and really vulnerable, or they don't really land.
Yeah. Yes. I absolutely agree.
I mean, I think if you look at the 8-minute introduction in Up, There's not a dry eye in that audience.
Jesus.
You can tell a really powerful, impactful story in a short amount of time.
You sure can.
If you understand the tools that you're using to tell your story.
Yeah, and I guess just being direct with the vulnerability.
Yeah.
As little as you need, kind of paring it down. Oh my God, okay, I hate to say it, this is not my story, but the book that I literally recommend to everyone every time I open my mouth.
Is it Fruiting Bodies?
It is Fruiting Bodies by Catherine Harlan. They are just such great short stories that tell such dense narratives in such a short amount of time, and that's how you know it's good. That's how you know it's good. Oh my gosh, it's every story in there. It's great.
I bought it because you love it so much. You talk about it so much that I was like, I have to go get it.
It's so good. I don't know. It resonates with me so much. Every story in there is great.
So anyway, that's not on Drew's list.
That's not my list, but I read it. You should read it.
Drew will recommend it to anyone
Yeah.
who has more than a 10-minute conversation with him.
It's true. It's true.
Mhm.
I won't even call it a vice, but it's my vice. My actual, if you are.
I'm not. I have one more.
No, please.
So my second book is Carmilla.
Yes. Okay, talk to me.
Carmilla is a precursor to Dracula.
Mm-hmm.
And as we jokingly discussed several times, I have read so much vampire literature in preparation for this Gothic season. Carmilla is phenomenal. It is really setting up the idea that these haunted castles in Transylvania are where you're going to find these monsters. Because as I discuss more in depth in our Dracula and Frankenstein episode, but you have the Avertalk, which is a traditional Irish folklore where a lot of the Dracula sort of stuff comes from. But in Carmilla, which predates Dracula, you have lesbian vampires.
Hot dog. Excellent. I'm sold. You
have this woman who is preying on young women in these villages for hundreds of years. And there's some sort of rule. We go back to the murky, muddy magic, but there's some sort of rule where she has to keep the same letters in her name, but she changes her name several times over the course of time. And she stays with these people and she preys upon their goodness and their assumption that something that is beautiful is good, which is something that is very Gothic, something that we discuss a lot, something that is very Dorian Gray.
Right.
We have this idea that because she is beautiful and she is young and innocent appearing, she must be those things when she is in fact draining the lives of the women in this village in this story. And it's so good. It's so fascinating. And the way that women yearn for connection, and I say all the time that we as humans are meant to be in community.
Absolutely.
And to have all of these characters who live in isolation actively, desperately want to be in community with people, and so they accept whatever level of love and friendship they can. It's a really beautiful, brilliant story. And it didn't make it into our Gothic season, but it's wonderful.
I mean, it sounds, and this is also short form, right?
Yeah, it's maybe 100 and something pages.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, highly recommend. It's a very quick read. It's very well done. Go check out Carmilla.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
But you have short form as well.
I do. I'm just thinking about Carmilla because you were talking about the sort of predation, and it reminds me of the movie Tar with Cate Blanchett.
Oh, I love Cate Blanchett.
Such a great actor.
Anything she's in, I can't take my eyes off her. She's so good.
Well, and that movie is also really good. She's in a position of power. She's the conductor of the Berlin Philharmonic, I believe. And she is just so manipulative. She's manipulative, and she uses people's sort of regard for her as an upstanding, hardworking woman. But you kind of know at the beginning that there's
an underlying something that's unsettling, but you don't know what it is or why.
And it's clearly a sex scandal, it's a sexual harassment scandal, and it's just really, oh my God, no, it's really good. It's just same kind. It feels like the same theming. I'll read Carmilla and see actually,
It is and it isn't. It's
Mhm.
so fascinating.
Okay.
I wouldn't have made that one-to-one comparison, but I'm glad that you did.
Okay, well, I mean, maybe I'm wrong.
No, you're not. You're not. But it's so fascinating.
Uh, uh, I love reading. Okay.
Oh, I love a good story.
I agree. Speaking of, what do I have? Okay. This whole season, I have ragged on the English, and now I'm about to eat my words, like served up on a plate with like a bold, like full-bodied red next to it.
A Washington Merlot.
Oh my God, delicious. I hate to deviate, but God,
Right?
Washington wines, I think, are better than California wines.
Well, so here's the thing. As a former sommelier,
Speak on it.
learning is my passion, guys. First of all, I love a little class. I love to learn. I love to read a book.
A little course.
I love
reflection.
a course. I do. And I did work in the industry for several years before I was like, this is not for me. It was a lot more fun when it was a hobby.
Mhm.
But Washington is on the same latitudinal plane as Bordeaux and Burgundy. It's very French.
Mhm.
Everyone, because of our weather, assumes that we are on the same latitudinal plane as the UK, and that's not the case.
Mhm.
Vancouver, Canada is. It's further north.
Mm.
We grow really beautiful French grapes here in Washington. Down in California, they're on the same latitudinal plane where they grow wine as Tuscan varietals.
Yeah.
And so oftentimes people will, and Old World and New World grapes and the way that they make wine and everything else, all the techniques, there's so many rules and ordinances in the EU that don't apply here in the United States.
Mhm.
And so you can play around a lot more.
Experiment a little bit.
Yes. And you have like the idea of the Super Tuscan, which is French varietals grown in Italian styles in Tuscany.
Mhm.
So you have, the DOCG, that you have classic Italian wines, and then you have your Super Tuscans, which are completely different.
Right.
Playing around with different varietals and different temperatures, different heats, different varieties, the way that we're able to exclusively drip irrigate from like the Columbia and the Snake rivers here in Washington,
especially here, yes,
provides our farmers and our growers with such exact amounts of water to acidity to sunlight ratios that you really can't get almost anywhere else. And so the way that it is a science and an art at the same time, our wines are so wonderful, so beautiful. Oh my gosh, I love to drink them.
And I know it has to do, like, I just know, like, when I'm up here, I'm like, I know it has to do with, like, the distribution of water just in this region. It's so good. I know it has to do with, like, the water table, the amount of rain, and also, like, so much of this is, like, at least partially volcanic soil, which also.
Yes. We had the Missoula floods, which happened like 1,000 years ago or something.
I'm so sorry for this like deviation. I'm so invested though. I'm so glad she's sharing this. So we talk about when we're not doing the pod.
We'll be nerds about anything. But you have these glaciers that froze and reformed and flooded, and they wiped out a lot of the topsoil in eastern Washington, carved out a lot of what is the gorge. If you're not familiar with the gorge, go look up photos. It is beautiful.
Stunning. Absolutely stunning.
It's also an amphitheater.
Yeah.
Beautiful,
Concept
beautiful
venue.
place.
Beautiful space.
But it left a lot of shale, loam, and gravel in its place, which is a really wonderful, rocky sort of soil that's not great for a lot of agriculture, but it's really wonderful for grapes because they need that struggle, they need that fight to grow deeper.
Yeah.
And then we have a really lovely diurnal shift because it's high desert. Washington is one of the only places that you have a rainforest and a desert in the same state.
Awesome.
We have the Hoh National Rainforest on the peninsula, which gets like 100 and something inches of rain a year. Then you come to Seattle, which is here in a rain shadow in what we refer to as Western Washington. And that gets somewhere between like 35, 40-ish inches of rain a year. I know we're having massive flooding right now, so that's very different, but also our snowpack and everything else that's going on there.
Record levels.
I'm not a meteorologist. I have friends who are, but I'm
not.
But then the high desert on the other side of the mountains, on the other side of the Cascades, they get somewhere between like 8 6 to 8 inches of rain a
Mhm.
year. And so because they drip irrigate and they have these long sunny days and these really cold nights, they're able to get all of this beautiful sunshine and the sugar that's built up in the day and the acidity that's in the night. And it's stunning. Our
Just,
grapes are really lovely
just
and our wine
great
is
wine up here.
fantastic. And
Great wine up here.
we're one of the largest wine producers in the country.
That doesn't surprise me. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just the P&W has great wine. The takeaway from this segment of the pod, which I think we should leave in, is that the P&W just has some of the best wine. Like,
It's lovely.
It's so good up here.
It's
And I didn't
so
even realize
good.
until that is, I think, one of Seattle's best kept secrets because I didn't know about that till I got here.
Well, that and the fact that it doesn't rain nearly as much as people say it does.
Don't say that.
So sorry.
Oh my gosh. Also, our summers are lighter longer because we're so high up.
Mm-hmm.
Way longer, like 9 o'clock.
Mm-hmm. And it's right before the harvest season, which is great for the grapes.
Anyway,
back to books.
Full-bodied Washington Merlot
Yes.
is what I will drink when I eat my words because I've been talking shit on English authors and the English in general this whole season. Susanna Clarke.
Ooh.
Susanna Clarke, the woman that you are.
You love her.
I do. And like, it's this year that I just like fell so in love with her. She's so distinctly English. She's so dry. She's so funny. And the short form of hers that I was reading is her book, her anthology that came out this year, The Ladies of Grace Adieu. And it is a collection of short stories in her like construction of like alternative history, Fae influenced UK, like Great Britain, specifically England. Oh my God. Oh my God. I just don't even know. Like every single one of those stories are just so good. They're all like, they have a distinct little flavor. They're like, oh my gosh, I don't know. It's like a grazing board. It's like you've got like some really sweet strawberries. You've got some perfect prosciutto. You know, you've got like a creamy brie. Like it's just
and a little dried apricot.
a little Exactly. And like I have to like own up to it and say like Susanna Clarke is just one of the best authors I have read this year. So The Ladies of Grace Adieu is like just everything in there is amazing. And then I think I've read, I say everything, but I've read everything of hers except for Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell. Is that?
You'll get there.
Yeah.
When it's on our list next year, just remember this moment.
It's really, oh my gosh. And I have it. I picked it up. She's great. I don't know how else to describe it. It's just very, I don't know. It's very dry. It's very
quintessentially English.
Distinctly English. It like pokes fun at the characters and also at itself and like the characters. She communicates like their fallacies and also the things that they're correct about and wrong about in the same breath. And she makes it so easy to understand. You feel like reading it, you're a part of an inside joke. And
that.
It's so good. It's great. And then the other one because for short form, I don't know officially what constitutes short form. I think like 50K or less. Or if I'm being generous, 100K or less.
Yeah.
Then 100K is a lot.
100K is a lot.
Maybe like 80K or less. I don't know. Tell Them of Battles, Kings, and Elephants. So good. So good. That is a translation. It is the story of, oh my gosh, Michelangelo. Michelangelo goes to build a bridge where Da Vinci has failed. Michelangelo he's kind of resentful and hypercritical. He hates himself, and you can tell. And he thinks less of other people. He's also struggling with gay thoughts. It's a very short read. I really, really enjoyed it though. It was just great. I don't know what else to say. It's just like some of my favorite long or short form fiction of the year.
I love it. I also really love a character who thinks that they are terrible, but knows that they're better than everyone else.
Like he's like, how could I hate myself if I did not also know that I was better? I've given myself the leeway to hate myself by knowing I'm better than the rest of you, which is terrible. He's a real piece of shit in this, but it's just such a, I don't know. It's a good read. I don't know. You read some stories and you kind of feel like you're there. It feels like you're lying down. Like you might be lying down and reading the book, but it feels like you're lying down, eating grapes, no matter what you're doing while you're reading this. You're on an airplane and you're lying down, you're eating grapes. And that's one of those books, just the way, and it's a translation too. So I don't read French. Maybe one day. Yet, right.
Your partner reads French.
My partner reads French. He speaks French, and that's part of why I'm learning French, because he would like to speak French in public so that people can understand us.
So my partner speaks Russian. I don't speak Russian. I know a handful of words. Mm-hmm. And one of them is, can we leave now? He's like, I just want to get out. I'm like, yeah, I got you. I know what you're saying.
Right.
But so much of also language is understanding the other person, regardless of what they're saying.
Right.
The way that when we're brushing our teeth and there are no tangible words coming out, but I know what he means, or his mother one time, we were all at dinner and she was asking someone to pass the potatoes.
Mhm.
She was doing it in Russian, but I reach over and I hand her the potatoes and she's like, when did you learn Russian? I'm like, I know what you mean, even if I don't
Yeah.
know what you're saying.
Yes. Yes.
I know what that sounds like. And also, you don't have potatoes on your plate. Like, I know how to be helpful, even if I can't accurately translate the words.
Right.
And that, I think, is its own lovely love language.
Well, I mean, yeah, that's the thing, right? Like, I don't know, just the nature of language and the transference of meaning is so very interesting. And that's why I think in the context of literature, especially, somebody who understands both languages has to make some choices, right?
Yes.
Especially if things don't translate directly.
Yes.
I think that is so interesting because even if the meaning comes across, the way they color or tint the meaning is
I'm a
something
big
that they
Emily
have.
Wilson stan for that reason.
She did the
Odyssey.
Yeah, and did she do the Iliad?
She did both.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. Which, in preparation for Christopher Nolan's new film,
Yes.
which I'm so excited about.
Oh my goodness.
I have been reading the Emily Wilson translations.
Well, I genuinely, I do know one thing. I do know that is the only translation to read, quite frankly.
Yeah. Well, okay. There are absolutely others, but she uses words and phrases and understands context in a way that provides additional value.
Mhm.
And as someone who, words are so important, and using the right word is so important,
Mhm.
and what each word means individually and as a whole
Yes.
provides so much additional context and value to the reader.
Mhm.
Having the right translator makes a world of difference.
It really, really does.
And that was also part of the reason that when we did our Mexican Gothic, we chose Mexican Gothic books that were written in English
Mhm.
because neither of us is strong enough in Spanish to verify an accurate translation.
Mhm.
And the last thing that we want to do is comment on a book that we don't have full understanding of.
Well, also the sort of the indigenous cultures that we associate with Mexicanness and Mexican identity are not confined to those borders.
No.
And the language, the Spanish language, isn't even the original language of this place. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And so the idea that like Mexican identity is sort of precluded from the English language is kind of nonsense. Because it's rooted in colonialism anyway.
Truly.
Right? And so
truly. And some people take issue with the word colonialism because they're like, it wasn't a colony of Spain. And I was like, okay, but we can acknowledge that it was colonized.
Well, and it's an extractive colony. You know, they were here to take things. And so, that's kind of the point. But
yeah.
I know that there are just a lot of Mexican Americans that are sort of like, oh, well, I don't know that much Spanish, so I feel like I'm not Mexican enough. And it's like, well, again, you're at least in what I am researching, it's like you are closer to your indigenous roots than you are to your Spanish colonial roots in this context.
And that's okay.
And that's kind of the point. That's
there's a lot to break down in feeling like enough of anything,
right,
in any capacity.
And there's a book that we are reading next season. Oh my God, that just is going to open the way for this specific conversation that I'm really excited about.
Yeah, this is not the end of this conversation.
I don't mean for this to be like a teaser episode for the next season, but
stay tuned.
There's some teasers in here, some things that we are alluding to that I just anyway.
But we're gonna take a little turn into nonfiction for a moment.
Magna cum laude.
We do discuss regularly throughout all of our episodes,
Right.
and like we said earlier, we're doing a lot of background research.
Mhm.
We're not abandoning fiction for nonfiction or vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that so much of everything, you need nuance, you need context, you need to understand the parts of the whole so that you can understand the whole.
Mm-hmm.
And nonfiction is a beautiful way to do that. But these ones didn't necessarily inform episodes that we did.
No,
they
not
were just
necessarily.
lovely pieces that we read.
Really enjoyed them.
Would
Really
you
enjoyed
like to go first?
them. Yeah, I'll happily go first. My magna cum laude long form nonfiction, The Color of Law by Richard Rothstein.
Tell me more.
Everyone has read The Color of Law by Richard Rothstein, but I'm so late to the party. But oh my goodness, it's okay. So I like it because it is a socio-legal text, and the Richard Rothstein's a lawyer, and so to write this book, he's writing about sort of racial segregation and income suppression and all of these things. And when we talk about redlining, we sort of have this context in our minds that it's like what happened when banks and private actors decided to restrict who they allowed sort of resources to go to, but that's not entirely true. He makes the case for the very active role that the legitimate government had in exercising its power to restrict the upward mobility and also to segregate whiteness from non-whiteness. And it's really interesting because this is specifically in the context of the creation of whiteness, which is also, with the antidote, the idea of how does one go from being a Polish immigrant to a white American? How does one go from being an Italian or an Irish immigrant to being a white American? How long does that take? What do you have to do? What are the strategies? What do you have to give up?
Well, and what happens in history and in society to change the way that someone is viewed?
Right. And so...
And some of that is still being debated.
Oh, absolutely. Continually. And The Color of Law does a great job in saying this is when the notion of whiteness became the deciding factor, not necessarily where in Europe you came from. And it's so interesting. And he basically lays it all out. He goes like, this was what happened with banking. This is what happened with urban development. This is what happened with people being, the government would only agree to insure the loans. When you go to the bank and they have the FDIC, if the bank gets held up, or if somebody does a run on the bank, if the bank goes belly up, if the bank runs out of money, your deposit is insured up to $250,000. So that is the maximum amount that you can get, even if you had $1 million in there, which is a bummer, but like you have a guaranteed $250,000. The FDIC insures that. It's the, I think, Federal Deposit Insurance. I'm going to throw a commission on there. I don't know if it's commission.
Sounds right.
Right, and so that's their purpose. That's what they do. And they were only offering that FDIC for white borrowers. And what does this mean? It means that the banks are only going to give out the loans to white borrowers because they know that no matter what, they can at least get that money back. Their loans are insured, right? If something goes wrong, if they default, the bank is like, well, I'm going to get the money. Everyone who was not white, right? And so this wasn't just Black Americans. He talks a lot about Black. It's mainly focused around Black Americans, but everyone who was not white did not have that privilege, right? And this is so fascinating. And like also the contracts went to unions that were segregated, or the contracts went to, and as the unions that were integrated, or just non-white unions in general, fought the legal battles, the projects would go through. And so those groups that were segregated were able to make the money, buy the house, save up, build their wealth. And so it's just it's such an interesting text. And it's not even because like it like, yes, it's like justification because it kind of undercuts.
Well, and it's interesting because like different choices are made based on different things. Like we have a bank account for our LLC.
Right.
And they address everything to you.
Yeah. Why do they do that?
Because you're the man.
No, wait. No, because I remember this day. Possibly. But
no, even before.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's nuts.
It's crazy. But it's interesting psychologically, sociologically, you break it down and you're like, okay, well, I'm older and I'm white, but I'm a woman. And so they're like, well, he's younger and he's Black, but he's a man. And so they're like, your name is literally on all the paperwork.
I will say, I do remember on that day, you had a meeting and you had to run. And so I had to sign my name.
I was there for 2 hours before I had to leave for the meeting, though.
I wonder.
Yeah. And so it's still interesting to see how
the subdivision sort of changes and evolves.
Yeah. And who people greet first, or who people acknowledge first, or who people assume are doing things. Because we get a lot of comments where people think that you're a guest on the show.
That does happen often.
That happens a lot.
I'm like, guys, I live here.
He's a 50% owner.
And I'm like, I appreciate it. I'm like, oh, what a great guest. Have him on again. Well, fortunately for you.
He's helping me write the copy. We're coming up with the ideas
here we are.
Together. It's collaborative. But it's so interesting that people will see us talk and be like, oh, she is the interviewer and he is the guest.
Also, odd.
It's so fascinating.
So in the context of this book, he talks a little bit about the actual, oh my God. My short form nonfiction.
Go for it.
Is going to be, no, you should go first. But it's so relevant to this. But I say all of this to say he ends it with some FAQs, and he does a really interesting like short bit on people going to court to prove their whiteness to have these institutional benefits.
I mean, even Jesus had to go to court.
But it's very interesting because in this case we're talking about, or he talks about like a lot of Hispanic Americans, very fair skinned, who speak Spanish, and their skin, however, is fair enough. And because whiteness is such a broad, kind of vague construction of race that people, depending on the judge, you could have access to this whole host of resources attached to materiality, which is also, again, really, really interesting. So this book, The Color of Law, Richard Rothstein, favorite long-form nonfiction of the year. Read it in conjunction with a lot of other nonfiction. And also, once we sort of start to understand like income suppression and wealth stratification and the stressors of poverty, we can sort of read that in turn with books that analyze the stress of poverty, other great nonfiction, and then you can sort of start to see how generational trauma is manifested and reproduced. Such great stuff.
Well, and that's like that conversation we were having last night where like so many people are just one paycheck away from decisions that they never thought they would make or have to make,
right,
or would ever occur to them to make, and suddenly those are their only choices.
Right.
And when you start making choices that you thought you would never make, you suddenly become a person you never thought you would be.
Well, and I hate to say it, but this brings me to another book.
Doesn't it always?
The Invitation to Law and Society by Kitty Calavita. I read that back in undergrad. It's such a short read, but she sort of talks about this illusion that the law is fixed and like right and wrong as attached to the institution of the law is sort of, it's above human fallibility. And she makes this whole case, and she's sort of like, the law responds to humanness and vice versa. It goes beyond precedent. It goes into enforceability and how the law scales and how different people interact with the law, and all of these things. And so we can make a lot of moral judgments, and we can say, oh, well, you've broken the law. And it's like the law reflects the nuance of human experience just like everything else. I mean, it's a complete social construction. It is not a wall.
Well, and there's the thought experiment, for lack of a better phrase, of stealing medication for your dying husband, right? Like, do you break in and steal something to save a life? Like, where does the morality land there?
And it ends up being debatable because it's like, oh, well, the life-saving medicine shouldn't cost this much money anyway. And they're like, well, that's the law. Whose law? Who lobbied for that law? Somebody lobbied for it. Anyway, I'm gonna get myself worked up.
It's gonna be a whole, 4 more hours before we get to another book at this
exactly.
point.
Exactly. Oh my gosh, this is such a fun episode. We're just going in all the directions.
I know. I love it. But that's what literature is. That's what books are. That's
the point. Yeah.
That's the point.
Absolutely.
Books take you places that you never thought you would go, or ideas that you never would have encountered otherwise, worlds that you couldn't reach on your own, and they present you with concepts and ideas and people that you now get to feel like you know.
And sometimes you can make the ideas kiss, and then they become a new idea.
And we love that.
We love synthesizing new ideas. Okay, your high praise short form nonfiction.
Oh, I'm still at long form.
Are we still at long form?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, keep going. Oh, wait, because I went first.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So my long form, hold on. I need to make sure I get the subtitle correct because subtitles just trip me up every time. Okay. My long form nonfiction for 2025, and it did come out this year. Like I said, I was surprised as anyone that all my books are new. In Open Contempt, Confronting White Supremacy in Art and Public Spaces by Irvin Weathersby Jr. And he is an academic. We love an academic. We're not shy about that.
No, not at all.
He's from the South originally, teaches lectures up in New York, and then goes back to the South to sort of do this study, this exploration. He gets very hands-on with Confederate statues and art and pieces that I don't know anyone who doesn't have big feelings about Confederate statues. Everyone does, one way or another, feels strongly about this. And evoking a feeling is what art is supposed to be.
Right.
You don't have to like it. It doesn't have to make you feel comfortable or safe. It can make you feel upset or angry or infuriated. It can spark any sort of fire in any direction. And art is something that makes you feel something.
This is his argument.
This is just art in general.
Oh, okay.
This is something that my partner says all the time.
Oh, I have a different view on art. Okay, sorry, keep going.
Art just is supposed to make you feel something. And it doesn't have, and comfortability doesn't have to be part of that, which is something that he and I come from very different worlds of study in terms of art,
Mhm.
because mine was very much like theater and film and the production behind it, and his is very much like art history
Mhm.
and the examination of pieces that are hung on someone's wall, and mine is pieces that evolve to include living creatures and beings.
Mm.
And so the way that we examine art is very different, and the
Ah.
history and the knowledge that we have going into understanding art is very different.
Mhm.
But art itself exists in all forms everywhere all
Right.
the time. And so to use it as its own study in terms of like our author was going out and talking to people who were standing defending Confederate soldier statues, and he was like, "Hey, can I ask you why?" And I don't think there's anything braver than a Black man going up to people defending a Confederate statue
Mhm.
and being like, "Hey, do you want to have an open dialogue?" That's bananas, because anything could happen.
It's true. Yeah.
Anything usually could be bad.
Right. It's usually bad,
Generally,
especially in the Deep South.
in the Deep South, he's
Although, of
going
course.
to these people and he's like, "Hey, can I try to understand your point of view?"
Mhm.
Which is beautiful and takes so much strength and
Mhm.
is just, you can't change if you can't talk to people.
Mhm.
If you can't have open conversations, and not everyone is open to that.
What
But
does he find in his interviews and things?
a lot of people feel the need to connect to something and to someone.
That's what my findings also suggest. My research keeps turning that up, that identity
People
estrangement.
people need to know who they are and to
Mhm.
have something to believe in.
Mhm.
And depending on who you are and where you are in the circumstances and opportunities afforded to you, what you tie your identity and attachment to is going to be different.
Mhm.
It's going to be interesting. And people who are looking for something will find it. You'll find what you're looking for,
Mhm.
whether that is confirmation bias or, actively refining your search until what you are looking for finds you.
Right.
And that it's really so fascinating.
Mhm.
It's so brilliant, but everyone should read it. It's very good.
I'll read it. I'll read it.
Yeah.
That's
I'll loan it to you.
well, because the idea of sort of okay, well, I will say this: two things about art coming from the sociologist standpoint, which is not the art history standpoint, and it's not the production standpoint. The cornerstone of sociology is symbolic interactionism, is the term that we use, and it sounds so. When I say it outside of the context, I'm like, I'm symbolic interactionism. I'm a nerd.
I mean, you are a nerd.
It's true,
And I love you.
It refers to the idea that like all things have symbols, and like that's the basis for social cohesion. And symbols have meaning, and so if you aren't socialized into what a handshake means, then it's just sort of like what is happening.
It's performative.
But the idea
But
that
everything's performative.
everything is performative, and the idea that a handshake can mean a greeting, the idea that a kiss can mean affection, like all of these things, they're not inherent to the action itself, but it does. It's sort of the nature of socialization, which is why some places are sort of more handsy than others as a form of affection. Masculinity appears differently in different contexts and those kinds of things. And so when I think of art, I always think that art is mainly a dialogue between the artist and the voyeur. And that's it, whether there's feeling or not, whether there are negative feelings or positive feelings, even if the voyeur is just the artist themselves at a later date.
Oh, I love that.
So I think like, I'm making a painting, I leave the room, I come back later, now it is art. Because I made this to express something, whatever that expression is. And the expression can get lost, right? Somebody can look at a piece of art and have no idea what the intention was. But there is a dialogue in their interpretation of that intention. And I feel like that's what makes it the art. I've never considered it in the context of feeling because I never really thought about the sort of symbolic element. Or I always exclusively think about the symbolic element. But that is, I'm going to ruminate on that one.
Yeah. Well, and the longer you look at a piece, the more it's going to reveal, right? But it might be revealing things about you.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Rather than, the green doesn't change. The green stays the same.
Right.
But the way that you perceive the green, the way that you understand it, the way that the memories that it calls back to for you as the viewer will change, regardless of what the artist's intent was.
Right.
because so often we don't know.
Right.
We don't have we're not privy to that information.
And so as our view changes and as the social context around the art changes, the sort of conversation that the art then becomes, I think is what makes it the art. And I think that, and actually, okay, this is so funny. This is going to come up later in another one of the books. The idea of like how the context around art and expression can change the value and the meaning of that art, and you know, in what value system does it change, right? Does it increase in value? Does it decrease in value? Depending on who's in charge, you know, really.
Well, and I think it also calls back to what we were discussing about what whiteness is.
Oh, God. Okay.
Because
I just want to clarify, I am applying to grad school this year, and I have been researching, because the thing that I want to study really is the construction of whiteness in the United States. And I've been reading so much on whiteness, and I hear static in my ears when I think about it. Oh my God. Sorry.
No, it's so fascinating from the lens that you view it through, because you can look at it in 100 different ways.
Yes.
And you have to. That's what you do. He spends so much time reading and writing about what it means. But in terms of culture, it doesn't mean anything.
Say more.
You have to go back to a smaller group to discover what whiteness is, right? And I think that is something that is uniquely American.
Yes, yes. American whiteness is unlike the other whitenesses. It has a lot in common with Eurocentrism, though. Sorry, go
Just in case anyone was wondering. But you see people, and I think this is like the popularity of like 23andMe and everything else, where it's like understanding the type of whiteness that you are, because
yes, go on.
So much of the whiteness in America is seen as a monolith.
Yes.
And knowing who you are and where you came from and the history of your people and your family helps you understand and identify who you are and how you should celebrate and the foods you should eat and the religions you should celebrate and everything else. And that is going to be different from person to person, even if they all look the same.
I'm okay. You've busted out another book. You've done this. This is your fault. You've done this. Okay. It is called "Why Are All of the Black Kids Sitting Together in the Cafeteria" by Dr. Beverly Daniel Tatum. Oh my goodness. Great book. Great book. The thing that the best, and I did read this year, the best thing I took out of this book was a framework, and it's not her original framework, I don't believe. I think she gets it from someone else, or maybe it is hers. I've written all through the thing. But it is REC identity. And oh my gosh, when I tell you that the REC framework I'm so glad I read it on the front end, because it has influenced so much of the rest of my research into like identity formation, specifically like multiracial identity formation. Where does interracial identity formation come in? And what is the construction of whiteness and non-whiteness and all of these things? And it is racial, ethnic, and cultural. Now, Audrey and Brian Smedley are a couple who are phenomenal, and they wrote a book called Race in North America, and they acknowledge that racial essentialism does not exist. That's not a thing. There are no like fundamental biological or behavioral traits that are predicated on race, but it is a construct. It is something that was very actively constructed over time. Noel Ignatia wrote this book called How the Irish Became White, which is also something I've been reading. This is why I say static in my head when I think about this,
because there's so much going on.
There's so much going on, but in each case he sort of tracks the idea of the construction of a racial identity. And so he says, okay, so here's your racial identity, or this is in Beverly Daniel Tatum's book, which is applicable to the other books that I've read. I'm like, this is racial identity. Okay, fascinating, great. And we can understand that racial identity changes, it flexes, because the sort of concept of whiteness it's a political concept, right? It is not based in any kind of genetic origin per se. It's all phenotypical. And the idea of Asian Americanness is like, as a racial category, I guess, but like Asia is a massive continent. Like, and then African American and then Black, those are kind of distinct. American Blackness and African Americanness, different contexts. So that brings us to the second, the E, which is ethnic identity. So we have racial identity, then we have ethnic identity. And ethnic identity is tied to your place of origin and the cultural mores and meanings attached to that. And so you have people who were Polish immigrants, ethnically Polish, racially white, right? You have people who were Italian and Irish immigrants, ethnically Irish, racially white. And you come to the Americas, and as time goes on, you can make a choice to either retain your ethnic identity or you can give it up, right? And so now you have this kind of ethnically estranged category in the context of whiteness, but you still have the racial whiteness. And then the question becomes culture, right? Because that's the C in REC identity. And so they say, okay, well, the culture is, it's sometimes people make the mistake of sort of confusing ethnicity and culture, but culture has to do with a group of shared meanings that are like relevant and salient to you actively in real time. And when you have a demographic in the United States that is kind of predicated on ethnic estrangement, the idea of a shared unifying culture is difficult to condense. And so people end up kind of breaking apart, and either one, trying to return back to their ethnic origins, or two, attaching their culture to their sort of American identity. And so they say, well, what is your culture? I'm an American culture, barbecues and hot dogs. And it's like, but what does that mean? Right. And so the reason why I use this as a really, really great juxtaposition is because you can say Asian American, racially Asian American. If we're talking about a Korean American, racially Asian American, ethnically Korean, right? Culturally Korean American, whole different set of cultural meanings. That is a fusion of the place of ethnic origin and what it is to be in the United States and what it comes with the immigrant experience. And it is when we consider this in the context of like analyzing whiteness and like how meanings are shared over time. I was talking to your partner about this actually, and it was really interesting because we were like, where does Judaism fit in? Like, where does like Jewish identity? And so we're like, okay, well, many Jewish people, because it is in many cases considered an ethno-religion. Many people, when they think about Jewish people, they think about Ashkenazi Jewish populations.
For context, my partner is Jewish.
Right. Sorry. Yes. So out of left field without context.
It's relevant, I promise.
And so when we are talking about like the construction of Jewish identity, many Jewish people are racially white,
yes.
ethnically and culturally Jewish. And so you cannot, when talking about identity and like just identity research in general, which I think is such a great, like useful framework, you cannot limit it to one construction.
Yes.
You have to use REC every time.
And he's Russian Jew, which is different than coming from somewhere else.
Right, Polish,
yes.
German, even though many Poles were occupied by Germans, which Karen Russell talks about in the Antidote. Sorry.
But it also informs the way that they cook their food.
Right.
Which we had tacos on the first night of Hanukkah, so I don't know that it really informs everything.
American.
Very American.
There's an Americanness. And again, though, like
the chicken mole was fantastic, for the record. But we also had pierogi, and we also had latkes. And you had to roll me out of there. I had a great time. That was the best. My partner and I joke that I eat enough latkes, and he eats at like Hanukkah, and he eats enough deviled eggs at Easter to make up for all of the years that we didn't get them before. So there are parts of everyone's culture that we get to appreciate and enjoy because we are partaking in other things. We are both white.
Right.
But we exist in that space very differently.
Which necessitates the REC construction. Because like white is not enough to describe what's going on here.
No.
Yeah.
One of my friends recently came up to me and she's like, if I told you that room over there smelled like hippies, would you know what I'm talking about? And I'm like, yes, they are my people, but they're not my people. Like I understand exactly what you mean when you say that room smells like hippies. I understand. I understand that a particular brand of white people were there, and there is a activity and way that they go through the world.
Love activity and way.
It's different than the way that I go through the world, but I understand what that means. And that is culturally ambiguous because they created that on their own. That didn't come from one historical line.
Right.
It's a merging of a lot of other people and places and things that they came across over time.
Absolutely. It interrogates kind of this illusion of the fixedness of culture. But of course, it also does not absolve us from recognizing where cultural boundaries have been wielded in favor of others and in favor of, even further others, the idea of interest convergence and hegemony. And we do
have other books to talk about.
We have a segment where we can talk about like this kind of stuff too. Like we're getting stuck. Oh my God. What are
I believe that we are at short-form nonfiction for anyone still listening.
Yeah, God, I'm so sorry, you guys. This is why we have to narrow it down for the episodes. This is exactly why. This is why we have to pick a genre. We pick 2 books that go within that genre, because if we just do this, if we were like, let's just do a podcast about books, it would be this forever.
This is what conversations with us is like, hanging out all the time.
I mean, over coffee.
Yeah. I mean, our pre-record meeting for this episode, we went out for coffee, and then we went out for burgers, fries, and milkshakes, and then we went back to my place and watched episodes of The West Wing in between planning for this episode. Our meetings take a whole day.
But we trust the process.
We trust the process, and we have so much fun doing it.
And hopefully you enjoy the content.
And because this is a bonus episode, we didn't feel the need to constrain ourselves to discussing one thing for one particular length of time.
Right. It's our end of year episode. Like, we're going back through the stuff we've read.
We're here to have fun, and we hope that you're having fun too.
Yeah, and I certainly am. We'll put it in the show notes. We'll put our recommendations in the show notes, and there'll be time. I don't know. Short form?
Short form nonfiction.
Do you want to go first?
I can go first.
Okay.
Yes. I chose Superfine, Tailoring Black Style.
Mm-hmm.
It's quite famously the theme of the Met Gala for this year, for 2025, which for those who are uninformed or unaware, the Met Gala is the fundraiser for the Met Costume Institute every single year. Anna Wintour, who was, up until very recently, the editor-in-chief of Vogue. She has since handed the reins over to Chloe Mao, which I'm very excited about. I think that it's going in a very fun, interesting direction already, and it's only been a couple issues since that transition has started to take place. But Anna Wintour is the #1 fundraiser for the Met.
Well, yeah.
She organizes this and has every single year. It brings together all sorts of people from all different industries. And the way that it is done is different design houses host different celebrities of various fame, and they dress them according to a theme. And this year was based on the 2009 work by Monica L. Miller, which was titled Slaves to Fashion, Black Dandyism and the Styling of the Black Diasporic Identity.
Oh my goodness. There's so
it
much
was
there.
Then that thesis, I think the coolest thing in the world is having your thesis turned into a Met Gala theme.
Oh my God.
Where you have designers all over the world inspired by your work and your words and your research and creating art based on the work that you did for your dissertation. I don't think there's anything cooler than that.
It's like being immortalized.
I hope she had the best time.
I'm sure. There's no way you can't.
The hosts for the Met Gala this year, they have hosts every year. And this year they chose Coleman Domingo, best dressed man anyone's ever met.
Yes, that is correct.
You can put that to print.
I mean, you can.
There's
fight us on it, but you'll lose.
no contest there.
Lose, yeah.
Sir Lewis Hamilton, F1.
Sir.
He's a knight.
Oh, did not know that.
He is a knight. I'm a huge fan. He is an F1 driver, 7-time world champion. He has driven famously for Mercedes for the better part of his career and has just switched to Ferrari for this last year. He was one of the hosts. He's been famous for his street style, his what he wears like before the races and everything else. He takes style to a whole different level. Really phenomenal. Also wonderfully philanthropic British person who's advocating for people who don't have the opportunities that he does. Really wonderful individual. And then we had A$AP Rocky, multi-hyphenate.
The just most best dressed men in the world.
Really. Also,
and I used a double superlative intentionally there, most best.
Every interview with him makes him seem like the coolest guy you could ever get a beer with. Like, I desperately just...
cognac. Sorry. Go on.
He is so cool. All of these men are so cool. And the way that they go through the world and the decisions that they make and the art that they create and the opportunities that they open for other people is just so impactful. And then they had Pharrell Williams, who is the creative director at Louis Vuitton. And Louis Vuitton was one of the sponsors of the Met Gala this year, and also one of the sponsors of this book. This book is a collection of essays. It is brilliant. It is beautiful. It takes the work of Monica L. Miller and it expands it. It brings in other authors. The other authors are Andrew Bolton, William De Gregorio. You have Amanda Garfunkel. And then the photos by Tyler Mitchell are sublime. This book is so large.
I
It
also
is
have a copy of this
so
book at
thick.
home.
We
Yeah.
both ordered it. We had to special order it from our local bookstore.
Yeah.
It's not something that you can just like go out and get.
But
But it was so worth it. It
So
came
worth it.
shrink wrapped. It's one of those. It is.
beautiful.
It would be a coffee table book if I weren't afraid of someone
Right.
damaging
Just
it.
ruining it. It
So
sits on my shelf. Yeah. Like,
it has a place of honor
it's
on
an
our shelf.
archival piece next to my like
It's-
Elizabeth Catlett book.
it's
Barbara
incredible.
Thomas.
And there are essays about Andre Leon Talley and the work that he has done and the person that he was. And if you are interested in him in like a deeper dive, his memoir, The Chiffon Trenches, is an incredible read. And I just adored the way that he moved through the world and the decisions that he made and the style choices that he made. And he was so cool. He was someone that was featured in the exhibit because he has since passed. But he's also featured in the book. And James Baldwin, whom you have strong feelings about, is also spoken of in this book. Would you like to expand on your James Baldwin thoughts?
James Baldwin. Yes, prolific Black queer writer. Excellent. James Baldwin, pinnacle of dandyism, being image conscious as a strategy. I completely understand and identify with that.
However,
James Baldwin, who, in a conversation with Nikki Giovanni, tried to justify the sort of domestic neglect of men to their wives in their households. James Baldwin, who fled to Paris while the other literati were living here in the United States and confronting their oppression head on. I'm not saying that erodes his ethos, but who are you to argue with Nikki Giovanni when you were away? That's all I will say on James Baldwin, lest I get hit by a car.
we have strong feelings in this house.
I do appreciate his work, though. It is good literature, but just because someone is good at writing does not mean they are free of criticism. Just because they are relevant does not mean they are free of criticism. And I have them. I have them. Don't ask me about bell hooks.
Anyway, nuance is important.
Quite. What was the question?
So anyway, James Baldwin is also featured in the book.
Right.
But the sartorial expanse of Black dandyism and the way that people, the Harlem Renaissance was part of it.
Of course,
which
of course.
We discussed earlier with one of your books. The way that people show who they are through what they wear and the choices that they make and the little details. It's incredible. It's its own art form that I don't think gets enough respect.
Yeah. Oh, well,
You will get me going on a whole tirade talking about the fashion decisions that are made across the board for everyone. And tailoring is something that I feel passionately about, not just because I'm 5 feet tall, but because everyone should do it. Everyone deserves clothes that fit them. And so often the average size of an individual piece does not fit a person correctly. And you see someone who you're like, oh, well, they always look great. It's like, yeah, they spend a lot of money on tailoring. Those clothes fit them. They didn't just buy it off the rack and think that was enough. And then you style it. You don't just throw on a sweater and jeans and a coat.
Right.
You have all of the other pieces that go with it to make it go from clothes to an outfit. And the way that people are able to elevate their station and their status through what they're wearing is incredible and has been happening since the beginning of time.
I was going to say, I've never understood like the contemporary certain tendency to minimize people who pay attention to how they dress.
Well, here's the thing. As soon as people think women are interested in it, it will be minimized.
It just seems so, I mean, foolish, yes, but ahistorical. Like textile artwork is immortal. That's
go back to Beau Brummel, who could only afford one suit, so he made everyone else feel bad for being able to afford more, and unstylish for going out and peacocking in all these bright colors when all he had was black. And he was so charming and so incredibly powerful in that scene for a brief moment in time. This is in England.
Right.
It's not even in France, where
Where
couture is
they would have the authority, at least a little bit more. I mean,
truly.
none of it mattered in the Harlem Renaissance. They
No.
didn't give a hot damn.
No.
And in the context of dandyism, also, they kind of it's sort of a point of flying in the face of establishment fashion.
And taking back that power and that authority and using your sartorial expression as a form of rebellion is brilliant and beautiful and so impactful.
Absolutely.
And if you have the resources to obtain this book, I highly recommend it.
Well, and then even, I don't know, I think about just how the role of clothing. I saw literally a TikTok this morning where somebody was talking about how they like pulled up to play pickleball and they had their hair in cornrows. And one of the white dudes that they're playing with is like, "Oh my gosh, whoa, you better not play against you. You look like you might beat me up." And the guy's like, "What?" And then he puts on a do-rag because he knows he's gonna sweat. And then the other guy goes, "Now he really looks like he's gonna beat us up." And it's like, Jesus Christ. I remember being in middle school and there was a YouTuber or something who was selling hoodies and it was like a black hoodie. I was like, "I want this so bad." And my mom was like, "No." I was like, "What do you mean?" And like, I did not understand for like 2 years. She was like, "You will not wear a black hoodie. No black hoodies for you at all in any context. You're not going outside in a black hoodie. You're not taking the trash out in a black hoodie." And it wasn't until I was older. And then you sort of start to understand, going back to that symbolic interactionism, what clothes mean in which context and why, unfortunately, in many cases, a sort of hyper awareness of what you're wearing ends up being a big part of your activism. Right.
Yes.
And also there is sort of this history of Black women being masculinized, the idea that like Black women are closer to men than they are women. And this, is obviously a holdover from the Reconstruction South and the antebellum and just slavery in general. And, the construction of Blackness in the Americas and, the caretaker, the whatever. But then you also saw sort of in response to that, this specific brand of hyperfemininity in Black young women. Right, like this really like iridescent lip gloss, right? Super long lashes, like hyper, like bright colors, hyper femininity, which then became a style that inspired many, many other people, right? And it included with it, the legacy of Black textile artwork, and so you have from different parts of Africa, and you have your own patterns as you're creating them in real time, and like I feel like a lot of that is touched on as well and super fine, and just like the role of clothes, like there is no world in which you can ever convince me that the idea of clothing and fashion is something that is menial.
No.
It's just ridiculous.
No. Well, and you and I say all the time that everything is political.
Everything is political. Yes. Yes.
The choices that you make, the pieces that you choose,
Absolutely.
as Miranda Priestley said, it's not just blue.
It's
like
not
so much goes
turquoise, it's
into
not lapis.
every decision. Every piece that is chosen is done so with some level of intentionality.
Yes, absolutely.
And if you choose to not be intentional about it, that is in itself a decision.
That is a decision, right? And now it's you using a negative reference group. You're positing yourself in opposition to something, and that's you trying to send a message. But you are still subject to this collection of meanings.
Yes.
Who do you think you are?
Well, and you can track like the lipstick index, and you can track the hemline index, and there are so many ways in which fashion and the world and the economy are all linked without being able to let go of one another in any capacity.
I mean, and they can't. They literally cannot. Like that's unfortunately, that is how society must work.
That's what intersectionally is.
Like,
everything is part of everything else. You can't remove one thing and just examine it on its own.
I promise it's that deep. It's always been that deep.
It's
Socialization
always.
And culture reproduces itself. Everything is that deep. Everything is that deep.
Yes. Well, and one of my favorite examples is my partner and I were out for coffee. This is a couple years ago now. And a man walked in to the coffee shop wearing everything that my partner was wearing, but nothing that my partner was wearing. My partner was there in his handcrafted leather-heeled boots with the Japanese selvage denim,
right.
with the, vintage chore coat jacket and the hand-stitched fisherman's sweater and all of these different pieces that he had sought out and found with serious intention about the quality and the craftsmanship of each piece, the sustainability. And it was frankly a very expensive outfit. It doesn't necessarily look like it might be, but because of where you source these pieces and the materials and the work that goes into it, it's a very expensive outfit. All of his outfits are very expensive outfits.
I mean, we could do a whole episode not about books at all, but just about like fashion systems, like textiles and
so
how
a man
move.
Walks in and stands next to him in leather boots and dark denim and a chore coat and a brown sweater. And you could tell from the craftsmanship and the quality of the work that one was so much better than the other. And I was like, oh my God, you guys are wearing the same thing. And my partner, immediately, you could see on his face where he was thinking, no, we're not. And the other man was like, oh, I wish I had his version. Which is so interesting because he had seen it on the street and gone out to a store and bought all of the pieces that look like what my partner had spent so much time and energy sourcing individually over the course of many years.
Right. That's how I get some of my best pieces. It takes me years to get like a good, because shit is expensive.
I have a running list of things where I'm like, one day when I find this perfect piece that I have in my head, it is an auto buy because I have been looking for it. I have been hunting it down. I have the perfect thing in my head and it is out there somewhere.
Yeah.
And I will continue to look until I find it.
Absolutely. I sometimes people will be like, oh my gosh, well, you know, you dress so nicely. Like, clearly you must have. I'm like, no. These pants, I know they're nice. They were expensive. I bought them 4 years ago. I've been taking care of them ever since. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's like that idea.
I have 10-year-old dresses in my closet.
Absolutely. And as long as you're taking care of your clothes, I don't know. But then again, that becomes like adding that to your awareness, having that meaning, that construction around clothing.
Yes.
All that to say, Superfine is
a brilliant.
I also have this
brilliant
one,
book.
and I love it. I will sit. It's huge. It's gigantic. I will sit in my chair and just turn the pages.
It is comically large,
but I mean,
especially when I'm holding
it. It's like the size of your torso.
It's massive,
Well,
but it's so brilliant. The photos are brilliant.
The meditations are the observations in there are wonderful, and there's a history.
And the exhibit was put together by the Met. They don't do things unintentionally.
I mean, well, you know, the Met.
Shout out to museums.
Well, I mean, shout out to museums, and then also shout out to the Met specifically because the Costume Institute, people sort of reduced the Met Gala to being a big sort of to-do
fashion
just like
night.
A show-off.
Yes,
but like clothing as artwork is as old as humans, and so the idea that the Met goes out of their way to create a space is not something that many places do. They have some pieces at the Seattle Art Museum where we live, which are really good, really good. There's some good stuff at SF MoMA, the De Young in San Francisco, the Asian Art Museum. Like, I think a museum is doing something right when they are making the time to include.
Victoria and Albert has a wonderful fashion section.
I've watched their YouTube videos.
I spent like a whole day there just staring at different dresses from the 1700s and just, the way that people are able to preserve things. And there's also preservation bias, which we have to acknowledge.
Right.
People think that people were smaller back in the day because the only pieces of armor that exist now were made for children because those are the ones that didn't go into battle and get destroyed.
Right.
And so we have all sorts of interesting ideas and concepts about the way that the world used to be based on what was preserved and what made it. And a lot of it is a lot nicer and fancier and delicate than what everyone was wearing every single day.
Right, because they're like ceremonial pieces, so they're going to get preserved. Yeah.
Also, someone who can afford to take care of something and put it in their cedar chest and not look at it again versus someone who has restitched it so many times that it is the Theseus's ship.
Love that. That's great.
That apron did not survive, but that apron was used every day, and we don't know what it looks like anymore.
Right. Fashion history. Fashion as art history. Come on. Oh my goodness.
I love it. Articles of Interest is a really great podcast if you want to do a deep dive into fashion as well.
Okay.
Huge fan of their work.
My list.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you have a short form nonfiction.
It's a departure. I will tell you that. It is The Race to Innocence by Mary Louise Stevenson and Sherene Razack. Razack? Razack. I think it's Razack.
We didn't double check pronunciations before we.
I swear I did. I mean, she's done interviews. I've watched them. It just never, it falls out of my head. But wow, it goes a lot into kind of what we've talked about before. It is an older piece, and I've read it before, but I was rereading again this year. I mean, if you've been listening to this episode up to this point and you were
Thank
paying
you.
attention to, first of all, thank you. If you've been paying attention to anything I said, you will be so unsurprised when I tell you what this is about. Or if you've read it, you'll be unsurprised when I tell you what it's about. It's free online. You can find it. But The Race to Innocence is kind of proto-intersectionality, before the term intersectionality was coined by Kimberly Crenshaw. It is a conversation about how your marked identities are oppressed actively, right? Of course. However, you have identities that are not marked that can perpetuate the subjugation of someone else in other contexts, and how those things fit together. And that's one of the main theses of this essay, which I think is absolutely phenomenal. It's a great point. It keeps up with Audre Lorde's The Master's Tools Will Never Dismantle the Master's House. You know, this idea of wanting to reconcile with an institution of power, wanting to do right by them means reproducing their value systems, and in doing so you end up just passing on the marked identity down to someone else, right? And so this essay is, you know, pivotal in so much sociological research, and so there's been so much meditation on it, and one is the idea of domestic labor and how domestic labor changes and the different waves of feminism, because Audre Lorde was a Black lesbian woman who wrote about not feeling represented in the feminist movement of her time. And so too is The Race to Innocence, sort of a discussion about how people occupy a largely privileged position, but they don't want to acknowledge how their privileged position can harm someone else, because they're afraid that it's going to take away from the necessary rallying for their marked identity. But in the process, they then perpetuate the harm of that person. And like everyone has talked about this. It's in everything. It's in queer theory. I mean, it's like baseline queer theory. It's foundational queer theory. But it's a really good one that I was revisiting this year, and it is eternally relevant. Highly recommend. That definitely has the highest praise. And I've read so many articles. You know, I get the American Sociological Review to my house. You know, but that one is immortal. Anyway, now we are moving to the latter half of the episode. We are wrapping it up. We're going to do the rapid fire. These are not like the highest honors. These ones are going to be a book that surprised you this year. You did not expect to love it as much as you did. It's going to be a book that you would teach to undergrads.
Yes.
And if you had a class to teach, we are going to describe but not name the worst book we've read this year. And then favorite thing we've read all year. And that's going to be like boom, 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 boom.
Yes. Yes. We originally were like, oh, our hottest take, but this whole episode has been our hottest takes.
It's been a lot of hot takes. There's no point. And
we hit you with a hot take every 10 minutes. Don't worry.
So it seems.
Okay. Book that surprised you. Ready?
Okay.
Go.
Yellowface by R.F. Kuang. And oh my gosh, I want a rapid fire, but
I love her.
So this book was great because I heard the reason I read it was because I heard a critique, and somebody said R.F. Kuang doesn't know how to write white women, right? And they were like, this book flops because R.F. Kuang is not communicating white women properly. And I'm reading this book and I'm like, yes, it is a book about a white woman who steals the manuscript of her dead Asian friend. This is not a book about white women. Most of the writers that I speak to say that they hate reading books about writing, not like instructional writing, but like books about writers, like Less by Andrew Sean Greer. But R.F. Kuang writes this book, and it is a scathing indictment of the publishing industry, of what it is to try to thrive and come up with ideas in this landscape. It is an indictment of like the role of media in the life of the author and being pigeonholed by your publisher. And she also criticizes herself in this really kind of like reflective, kind of like acidic way, but she does it by criticizing the character that died. Like the character that dies is a very successful author who writes like Asian American literature, right? And this is very intentional about it. They're like, it's Asian American literature, right? You know, she's the
self-insert.
Well, yeah, the self-insert, but it's more in the face of her like publisher and her viewers, it's like, oh, well, you know, she checks that box, right? And so she criticizes like the necessity of that, but she also criticizes like the way one fits into that box and how one reconciles with that box. Yellowface, R.F. Kuang, great book. If you want to hear me talk more about it, I might make a video about it on the TikTok. Like, leave a comment.
And I read her book, Catabasis. Brilliant.
Yeah.
Loved it. Really enjoyed it. And the narrative parallels of Alice going down into hell and Alice in Wonderland and like all of the the scathing indictment of second wave feminism and academia in general. Really lovely.
She's good. She's good at what she does.
She's very good at what she does. Yeah.
And she does touch on whiteness in Yellowface also. Like, she does get there. She has critiques about whiteness, but it's not like about white womanhood itself. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Book that surprised me the most this year is I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy.
Oh, great one. Great read.
I love a memoir. I really do. But so many people had talked about how heavy this one was that I was like, ooh, I don't know. And brilliant.
Gifted writer.
Incredible writer.
Absolutely.
She's got a novel coming out and I'm so excited for it. I'm so looking forward to it. The way that she wrote as she, the character of, you know, the young version of her aged into the version that she is now. Incredible. Really insightful, really brilliant. And the way that she's able to foreshadow things because of that hindsight that she has and the way she's able to look back on her life and these snapshots and memories of things that happened where when you're a kid, you don't know better, but you do have distinct moments where you're like, huh, that one's going to come back. I'm going to remember this again. This is something that's going to haunt me, or this is something that's really going to lock in a core memory. Is incredible. The way she's able to make me love and hate her all at once and everyone else in this story.
Yep. It's a great book.
It's a great book.
She's funny. She's funny about it.
Very funny.
Deeply traumatic story. So humorous.
So funny.
Yeah.
I recommended it to my mom. My mom did not appreciate. She's like, why would you even read something with that title? I'm like, it's not about you. It's not nonfiction like that.
Right.
It's a memoir.
It's great.
It's great.
Okay,
it's so
next
good.
one. I'm going to shoot it to you now. Book that you would teach.
Book that I would teach to undergrads. I have chosen The Fifth Season by N.K. Jemisin.
Another just
wonderful.
Banger. Yeah.
Wonderful. The way that they write is exceptional and weaves stories through characters that. Okay, so I'm just gonna.
Yeah.
This is what I would do if it was a class, if it was for undergrads.
Okay.
I decided, we talked about this already. This is not a surprise to Drew.
But I'm putting myself in the class.
But it's like English 502, the denial of the call, right? And the way that
Professor
the
Waters.
story, Professor Waters, thank you so much. But it's discussing subverting the genre to tell alternative stories, which we've already discussed. I love an alternative story. I love an alternative ending. I love a story based on a character who otherwise would not be a main character. And in this story, the main character is a 42-year-old woman of color. How often is she the main character in anything that you pick up? Very rarely. Very rarely are you going to find a popular novel. And this is a Hugo Award winner. It's not a current book. It's a few years old.
But she's got like a couple Hugo. Like, I think
she's very good at this.
Upwards of 3 or 4.
She's very good at this. Yeah. But like, this is someone who has been denying the call for so long that the earth literally breaks. And like, it is the fundamental brokenness that pulls her towards the calling that she has been denying for so long. And the way that things break and the way that things are put back together and the way that we examine what girlhood is and the way that women are treated and the way that people who are different are treated and the way that someone with power that you can't understand or you don't trust is treated not just by a community but by society as a whole is so powerful. And your heart just really breaks for the characters in this story, all but one.
I gotta read it. I mean, it's been
you recommended it to me because you had heard about it, and then
Yeah.
I read it and you hadn't.
Well, because I have read Jemisin, but I haven't read this particular one. But I know she is a damn good author. She's great.
You're reading The City We Became.
I am
which
currently reading.
I loved.
It's great. No, it's really, I don't know. It's very. she just does it in a way that these complex themes, these really kind of like wacky, out
Yeah.
there narratives,
Very different.
but
Very
so
different.
accessible. Like I read it and I go, it's like reading, it's like hot knife through butter, like so easy to read.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And I will say that so much of the books that I have been drawn to this year are different worlds than the rest of us have access to in different capacities, whether it's because that time has passed or because who I am, cannot access that part of the world or that piece of culture or wherever it is in time, or the world building that the author has put together is so unique and so different that no other story has looked like this one. And it's so lovely, so beautiful. So if I was to put together a class, there's also a T. Kingfisher novel that is a beautiful refusal of the call.
What is
it's
it?
about, what is it? It's about a 14-year-old who's a baker who everyone's like, you're the chosen one. And she's like, I'm only the chosen one because all of the adults around me have failed to do their jobs.
I do like T. Kingfisher.
Yes, so good. But I think that stories where people are like, I shouldn't be the chosen one. Something is fundamentally flawed if you are coming to me for help. I love a story like that.
And it's a good subversion. I don't know, like there's just something, because it's so common to have like the chosen one. It's almost like this this power fantasy, yada, yada, yada. But to sort of subvert that and say, no, the power is in me saying, leave me alone. You know, I think that's great.
Yes.
You know?
The power is me being able to do it and know that I shouldn't.
And won't. Until, you know, I absolutely must.
Until something happens where it's like, okay, I am qualified to fix this.
Right, like you get your bag, you put it in your tote, you're like,
if I must. Okay, worst. Oh, wait. What is yours? What is yours?
Oh my gosh. Making History, KJ Parker. It's a novella. It's short. It's like 120 pages. It's such an interesting little read that I picked up, but I don't think teach the whole thing. The story is there is this tyrannical ruler who wants justification for invading a neighboring kingdom. And so he calls all of these scholars forward, you know, scholars of art history, scholars of languages and architecture and things like that. And he says, I need you to build a fake city. As an archaeologist, I need you to build and then discover a fake city that is a justification for the story that I have created for myself. And so it's interesting because it's called Making History. And so it's these different scientists or, you know, social scientists and scholars of the humanities building out a civilization in retrospect. And like they're using everything they know about like urban design. They're like, oh, well, you know, cities have layers. And so if I'm going to build an aqueduct that comes into the city, then I have to make sure that like it goes here and then looks broken or rerouted, because if it looks like it was already rerouted around a building that won't exist for another 100 years, then, you know, like something's out of place. But it's a book about the sort of the way that little t truth exists as a consensus of different disciplines, right? And I would teach this. It would be like sociology, be like a 4 or 500 level class. I mean, I think, quite frankly, it could be like a 102 or a 2, but I think that's just because I'm nuts.
Well, also, I think that our version of what a 102 should be is fundamentally flawed.
Like you and I?
Yes.
Well, yeah.
Because we had such an incredible foundation that by the time that we got to the entry-level classes, we were like, we know this. This is not new information. Give us more. But a lot of people did not have the privilege or access that we had in regards to education.
Well, I mean, I will say that I think because it's sort of the sociology of truth as a piece of general consensus, I think that's something easily communicated kind of early on, and then you can kind of build on that. And I think the story offers a really useful anecdotal framework, not a real anecdote, but like, you know, a little story.
Something to work with.
And then from there, you know, it just gets really exciting because I think going back to our episode on the yellow wallpaper, right? The idea of what was true and the idea of truth was like, you know, sometimes a woman's going to have a baby and then she's going to get that feminine hysteria and all the doctors agree and the scientists agree and that's what it is. And that is not true. Like, and we know that's not true. But at a time, the to challenge that was to challenge what was an obvious truth, right, to the establishment. And so the nature of truth has changed. And I think the thing that would have to bring it out of a 102 level class and make it a little more advanced is that it is inspiring a healthy skepticism of how truth is reproduced by interrogating the systems attached to it.
Mhm.
However, you have to really thread the needle to make sure that you're not just raising a bunch of like conspiracy theorists. And so I would not trust someone who's only had a 101 class to not take it too far,
Yes,
is
you
the
need that
thing.
critical thinking.
You need that critical thinking, but it's a great application. And I, quite frankly, a really great example, something else that I've been researching in the construction of American identity is the construction of the model minority myth, specifically for
Mm.
fair-skinned East Asian Americans, and how sort of the truth of Korean immigrants in California, specifically Los Angeles, in and around the Rodney King riots, and those kinds of things. How like the truth of like the industrious, successful Korean immigrant who like starts a business and is doing better, and racial essentialism, they can do it, everyone should be able to do it. How that was a manufactured truth, and how the reality of that was a lot more complex because of like Hart-Celler immigration legislation, which significantly restricted who was allowed to immigrate and the context in which they were allowed to immigrate. And then also, and I say this, if I'm teaching this class, I would include, oh my gosh, what is it? Korean Americans versus African Americans, Constructions and Conflicts by, oh my gosh, Sumi K. Cho. And then Home is Where the Han Is by, these are also just short nonfiction. Home is Where the Han Is by, oh gosh, oh goodness, what is her name? Elaine Kim, I think it is. Anyway, both really, really good stories talking about the Korean American experience in Los Angeles, and how the reality of the immigrant experience, and how people were like living on credit card debt, or they owned businesses only because they were sold to them at below market rates by the black people who already own them because they didn't want them, or they sold them to like liquidate because there was like there's just so many nuances that come into the construction of a narrative, and that was used to sort of justify an othering, and a different kind of othering, and the model minority myth to both weaponize in favor of the hegemony, but also to weaponize, um, to divert ire around racial tension to another group that does not actually hold it. So interesting. And so like the way that truth changes and evolves depending on who's
Depending on who's telling the story.
making history would be a great introduction, and then I would like hit him over the head with some real intense, difficult stories. Yeah.
So we're doing a really good job keeping this short.
I'm sorry. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I have so many thoughts.
Drew's over here like rapid fire. And
I'm
he's
like,
false alarm. We
but
don't
actually,
do that.
this is my whole syllabus. Yeah.
We don't do that.
Oh gosh. Okay. Okay. What's the next one? Worst book.
Worst book. Okay, so we're not going to name the worst book.
Absolutely
We're not going to name the authors of
Nope.
the worst book, but we will give a brief.
This one I can be brief about.
This one is, we're just ranting
'Cause I
for like
hated
just a
it.
second. Just hold on.
Do you want to go first? Should I go first?
Okay, so my book club picked it.
Great start.
I read a lot of things for my book club that I wouldn't otherwise choose, because the book club is a group of people who vote on what we get each month. And some months I'm not available, and that is neither here nor there. Maybe I loved the book, maybe I didn't. Maybe I just can't make it that night. But there was one book that was chosen that I texted one of the other girls in the group, and I was like, so what do you think? And she's like, I hate it. I was like, oh, thank God.
Right. Bless.
Thank God I'm not the only one, because there's nothing worse than showing up to book club and being the only person who didn't like something. And fortunately, this particular friend, she and I usually agree. So it's always nice to have that buddy. But the author, it was nonfiction. The author was so self-aggrandizing, so self-important, so name-droppy, so disgustingly self-involved. And while there were small bits in the book where I was like, oh, that's nice, that's helpful, they were sandwiched in between the worst things I had read in a while.
Yeah.
And also, they didn't use footnotes appropriately. And that just drove me crazy. I was like, there are sentence structure issues. There are, like, we're missing syntax.
You're going to be self-aggrandizing and miss syntax?
You pick one.
Literally.
Pick one. If you are going to talk about yourself like you are the smartest person in every room you have ever been in, and everyone should listen to every decision you've ever made, know where a comma goes.
Hey.
Know the difference between a colon and a semicolon. Make sure your footnotes are appropriate. Anyway, I ranted much longer at book club and no one appreciated it. yeah, didn't enjoy it, didn't love it,
Yeah.
did read it. And there are things that I would otherwise put down that I do finish because it's book club and I want to have a fully formed, finished thought
Yes.
on a piece.
I agree.
Because there's nothing worse than someone being like, I hated it. And it's like, well, how far did you get? Like 2 chapters.
Nah.
No. If you're going to critique something, critique it appropriately.
Right.
Come with a full analysis.
Right.
Give it the full chance. Because there have been books that like picked up halfway through that I'm like, you know what? My mind was changed.
Yeah. I agree.
This wasn't one of those.
On principle, if I realize that I am hating a book, I'm like, gots to see it through. Have to get to the end because I'm going to be an informed hater. God damn it.
If you're going to rant about it, yes. If I am like, you know what, people have recommended this and I respect their decision, thought making, I will put it down and try it again later. Because maybe sometimes I'm not in a good spot to receive it. But sometimes it's just not a good book.
Just shit book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your turn.
I'm only going to say this. Very popular YA book from a couple of years ago. You know, a couple, like more than 5, I think.
Was it?
Yeah, it's an old one. Yeah, because it's yeah.
Who's to say?
Really popular. Oh, I can't say too much because it'll give it away. It is by a well-known author who has written some good stuff. This was just not good, and it is about 2 rivals in middle age in an urban setting with a little bit of supernatural magical realism. That's all I'm gonna say. I think it was too melodramatic. I think it was I think the characters were one-dimensional, and the plot was kind of stalling. I think it was longer than it needed to be. That's it. That's all. That's it. That's it. Okay. The end.
Final.
Okay. Best thing I've read this year.
Best thing you've read this year.
Best thing I've read this year. We had to make this one separate because it was not the same as anyway. It is The Spear. If you are watching this, I'm holding it up. It is The Spear Cuts Through Water by Simon Jimenez. I loved this book. I read it early in the year and it's just haunted me the whole rest of the year. It is written in first, second, and third person all at the same time. You know, it is a bit of magical realism, but it is also fantasy in a way that I have not seen done before. It leans a lot into this sort of imagined mythos. It is queer. One of the main characters is missing an arm. I mean, it's just so, oh gosh. And just it talks a lot about generational trauma and sort of how you can both resent and hate and also love someone, but it's somehow a fantasy book, but it's also not quite a fantasy book. There is ritual cannibalism, like a lot of ritual cannibalism. It is really, but it's not off-putting, and it's very, it's written in first, second, and third person at the same time. It's like you are the reader and they speak to you. Second person is you, so they speak to you, the reader. They are telling you that they're like, I am telling you a story, and I am telling you a story while you are in a theater, and I am dancing on the theater, and this is what is happening. And they're telling what's happening in the third person, and every so often they'll be like, and you watch this part of the story on stage and you think this, and I only can hope that you understand. And then it goes back inside and I'm like, this is nuts. Oh, it's so good. Great book. Highly recommend. That's my book of 2025. The Spear Cuts Through Water, Simon Jimenez.
Okay, all I can tell you is that you are really gonna love the 5th season.
Oh, I'm ready. I'm pulling my hair. I'm ready. Okay. All right. So what was your favorite thing that you've read this year?
Okay, so I am gonna be a huge sap. Because my favorite thing that I read this year is handwritten letters. I am on the board of directors for the Junior League of Seattle. It is an incredible honor. I work with some of the most amazing women who are advocating for change in our community and our society and are actually boots on the ground doing the work, making the change. And in true, like, women's league sort of fashion, there are a lot of handwritten notes that get sent out from everyone who appreciates everyone else all year long, because it's the value in feeling seen and knowing that the work that you did was impactful is one thing, but like having someone taking the time to sit down at her desk and write a thank you note is so lovely. It's so sweet. I love snail mail in general, but this group of women just means so much to me. And the work that we do means so much to me, as well as the community partners that we're able to help and the work that we're able to do, whether it is helping support diaper banks or food banks. We put art into schools where art programs have been cut. We're doing all sorts of amazing work. And in the process of all of that, you're getting thank you notes. You're getting, hey, I saw that you did this thing, and I just wanted to let you know that I appreciated it. I really loved it. It's been so lovely working with you or serving with you on this thing, or thank you for showing up and doing the work. And they're all on my fridge until the fridge gets overwhelmed. And then my partner's like, they've got to go somewhere else. And at the beginning of this year, the president gave everyone on the board a box to put their handwritten notes in, because she knows that we all get so many. And she refers to hers as her smile file. And she said that when she has rough days, she goes back and she reads these letters that people have been sending her over her years of service. And it's something that I do as well. It's so lovely to know that the impact that you have had has made a difference, even if it's only one person. But it's so lovely. So anyone who's ever sent me a handwritten card in my entire life, know that I have kept it. And it's the best thing that I read every year are thank you notes and thoughtful, just handwritten moments that someone took the time to sit down and think of you. I love that. So that's the best thing that I read this year, but that's the best thing I read every year.
What a flawless answer. Oh my God.
Thank you. I got one this morning. It was so sweet.
And also I think what adds to this, because I know the work you do, these are high-powered women. These are executives, directors of companies all over the city.
Yes.
And so
they work for companies that everyone knows the names of, and they do so in positions of large amount of power. And what they do in their free time is they come together to raise money for food banks and diaper banks. And like, we oversee the Northwest Art Project, which this is our 65th year of putting museum quality works of art into schools where art programs have been cut so that kids can have access to art education. Like, we do a crazy amount of work all year long, and the women that I work with are incredible individually and collectively.
And in addition to all of this exceptional work, they are still taking the time to personalize their correspondence with you at the end of your project, or even in the midst of your projects together. I think that's just so, like, the integrity goes all the way through, from like the roots to the leaves.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And every time you see something you're like that, you're like, oh, that's so Junior League. Like, oh my God, of course she would.
Well, right. I mean, it sounds like it.
Of course she would. Yeah. And living in Seattle, it's such a transient community. People,
right.
I am from here. You are not from here.
Super not. I don't think I'll stay either. I really like it though. Maybe I will, but so many people move here from somewhere else, and they know that they're not here for a very long time. And so when they volunteer with the league, they've usually transferred in from a different location and with the intention of transferring somewhere else when they go somewhere else. There's a league in every major city in the country, and we're in 6 different countries across the world. You can join all over the place. And it's women who value the work that they do in the community and making their community better. But you meet such fascinating, interesting people, and you get to learn from them and grow from them. And I know that every time I have a bad day, or every time I have a challenge that I need answers to that I don't know, I call someone I met from the league. Yeah.
And so to also be on the other end of that, being the person that someone calls when they have a bad day, is just really lovely. It's so sweet. So that's the best thing I read every year.
Oh my God.
I could read 10 books, I could read 100 books, but a thank you note from someone who sat down and took the time is always going to be the most meaningful thing that I read.
Jesus. Oh my goodness. Perfect. Literally perfect.
Thank you.
What a way to end the episode. What a way to end the year.
Yes.
Our podcast debuted this year. I know we did all the sappy stuff last episode, so I won't draw it out. But what a way to end 2025.
Thank you so much to everyone who listened all year long.
Yeah.
This is our, 9th, 10th full episode.
This is extra long, so
this is super long.
Thanks if you stayed with us. We'll tighten up for season 2, but I know that last episode was meandering. This episode was meandering, but
we're just having fun.
I know,
and we're gonna come back with proper scripts for the next one.
Just the stuff we're reading for season 2. There's
so much.
There's a couple books I'm really excited about.
We're doubling the size of season 2. I'm so excited.
There's some.
We got to the point where we're we literally can't add any more episodes to season 2.
We can't, but
we've got through season 5, drafted,
conceptualized. So
Have some books to read, though,
we
for
have some books
sure.
through. God, great books. Okay.
Great books.
Great books. Okay, I'm done. Oh my goodness, I'm so excited. I'm gonna go home and read one right now.
Yeah, I've got one that I'm like halfway through and I'm just dying to finish.
Well, in the end,
Here we are.
I'm Drew. I'm a sociologist.
I'm Kate. I'm a media production specialist.
And this was Everyone Should Read.
Thank you so much for listening, and tell your librarian that you love them.